What's up, folks? How we doing? Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to the live stream. This is Jake Ellenbogen of the Jake Ellenbogen channel. If you don't know me, allow me to sell you on me. At some point, if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe and hit that thumbs up button. It helps big time with the YouTube algorithm. If you're on Facebook, or if you're on Twitch, or if you're on Twitter, there's obviously their follow buttons, retweet, like any of that helps. So I'd really appreciate if you enjoy this live stream in any facet. If this helps you in any way, please do that. That's all I'm asking. All right. That's not all I'm asking. I'm going to go right into it. As you guys know, Manscaped is our proud sponsor. So you can get 20% off and free shipping by going to Manscaped today, manscaped.com, and putting in promo code DTR or JKB. So that's that. How we doing? How we all doing? You guys excited? I mean, I'm really happy. And if you guys are wondering why I'm happy, I kind of joked about this on Twitter, but I'm dead serious. I had no idea. No idea. The Rams, first off, I love the trade for Matthew Stafford to begin with. Also, it's Matthew Stafford Day, so that's another reason why I'm really happy. But I had no idea that the Rams didn't trade their current third round pick. I know this doesn't seem like a big deal. It's only like 12 spots, but I think it's a huge deal. The Rams are going to have the 88th overall pick, and they actually traded a compensatory third rounder, which ironically enough could end up being, and I don't know for sure, but it could end up being the pick that they got as compensation for losing Brad Holmes, the GM who went to the Lions. So that would be funny. Yeah, that's what's on my mind right now. Just had to throw that out there. So I'm very excited, guys. I'm pretty happy. Plus, it's free agency. What's there not to be excited about? We have all sorts of moves going on, things along that nature. Pretty much as far as the news goes, LaMarcus Joyner, literally right before I went live, former Ram and Raider, just got signed by the New York Jets. Solid move. I mean, it's a 1-year deal. I'm imagining it's going to be pretty cheap, and we'll see how that goes. Matt Skura, center, got signed by the Dolphins. Will Fuller got a 1-year, $10.6 million contract with the Dolphins as well. The Giants signed Reggie Ragland. Trent Sherfield is going to the 49ers. Talented wide receiver. Didn't really get a lot of playing time in Arizona, but a special teamer, a good special teamer at that. Montravius Adams is going to New England. I like the pick up there. They've really killed it. Randy Bullock is going to be the new kicker for Detroit. Terrell Basham, I thought pretty underrated signing here, 2-year, $6.5 million deal for the Dallas Cowboys. And kind of a surprise here, Kyle Fuller, maybe not a surprise to some, but Kyle Fuller is a damn good cornerback, and he was actually just cut by the Chicago Bears. They save about $11 million in cap space, so that's definitely something to keep in mind. Desmond King signed for 1-year, $3.5 million deal with the Texans. That was a little bit of a surprise for me. I thought he could have gotten more than that. Brashad Perriman, the speedster, he's going over to play with Jared Goff in Detroit on a 1-year, $3 million deal. I think it's just, what it comes down to is we've seen the wide receiver crop, or rather the market, is dry. So right now, you guys probably saw the thumbnail. You guys probably saw Juju Smith-Schuster in the middle of it. And we've heard today Juju Smith-Schuster could go back to the Steelers. We've heard today that Juju Smith-Schuster could go and reunite with his old quarterback in Sam Darnold, with the Jets. So we don't know where that's going. Will Fuller has signed. We know Curtis Samuel signed yesterday. Love the fit, by the way. Absolutely love that he's going to be reunited with Terry McLaurin. And now I'm thinking, it's Juju, it's Kenny Golladay, and then after that, there's not a lot of receivers left. So it'll be interesting to see where those two go. But there's still plenty of guys, folks, plenty of guys that are still remaining here, guys that you're going to have to, keep an eye on. And, one of those guys I'll say right now that I really, really like, and if, majority of my, followers, of course, are Rams fans, so I'll throw you a bone here. I really, really, really like Brian Poole. I like him. I know a lot of Jets fans probably want me to stop talking about him, but it's not going to happen. To quote Nick Saban, it's not gonna happen. So, look, so quit asking. There we go. So with Brian Poole, I found it really interesting because like the Rams, you would have thought if they were into the cornerback market, they would have been able to offer Desmond King 3.5 million. So I don't know, but he goes to the Texans, so clearly they weren't into that. But what I will say is that there's some other guys available. You have a Dory Jackson, who, of course, he wants to. Well, at least we know this from previous. He's a former Rams. Well, he's a Rams fan or grew up a Rams fan. He always wanted to play for the Rams. He was at USC. He just was cut by the Titans. He's productive. He kills two birds with one stone. You get a corner and you get a returner. So that's somebody to keep in mind. I was a little surprised by that. Like the fact that he got cut. I wasn't expecting him to get cut at all. So, we'll see where that goes. But, a Dory, Brian Poole is a 28-year-old cornerback, and he's somebody that I really, really like. The reason for this is there's a couple of reasons. First off, he was a top 10 corner according to PFF. When you do at least, it's 20%. You take all the corners that played at least 20% of snaps, Brian Poole was 10th. So that's first off. Second, I believe he was 6th in, what was it? Passing, I want to say passer rating allowed, completion percentage allowed, something along those lines. I think it was passer rating allowed. He was 6th. Darius Williams, I believe, was 4th there. But Brian Poole goes back with the defensive coordinator, the acting defensive coordinator in Raheem Morris. Look, he played in Atlanta from 2016 to 18 with Raheem Morris. Raheem Morris was there in 2015. So, there's familiarity there. Now, Raheem Morris didn't have that, he didn't have the opportunity to coach the cornerbacks, or he wasn't the defensive coordinator, but he was on that same team. He had to prepare against him in practice. He's definitely somebody that he knows. So I'm thinking Brian Poole, if you're a Rams fan here wanting a corner, I don't think it's going to be a Dory Jackson. I don't think it's going to be any of those guys, really. I think Poole is the best option. I think he's going to be cheaper, especially if you're seeing Desmond King go for 3.5 for a year. I think he's going to be the most affordable, and he's gotten better each year. He's 28 years old. You probably signed to a 1-year deal. Look, you guys have been asking me, why haven't teams made moves? And I'll tell you this right now. It's an unprecedented offseason, so I can't stress that enough. Obviously, there's not as much cap space, but think about this. A lot of teams had to get under the cap so they could move forward into the next season. Now they could go back over the cap, moving forward, but as long as they get down by September. But keep this in mind. Teams made trades. So like until today, the Rams and Lions had not completed their trade yet. So people were asking me, why can't the Rams rework Matthew Stafford's deal like you were telling me? Because they can't touch it until it was a finalized trade. And since it wasn't finalized, they couldn't touch it. So now it's finalized. We'll see what they do there. But, just kind of looking at that, I could see, AJ Boye was another guy that I was going to mention. But, I think when you look at everything that's going on, I think it makes a lot of sense. Teams are waiting. They're waiting for opportunities to get bargain bin guys. We've seen it all the time. The teams that get the best free agent, most of the time are the teams that grab the guy that was cheap and ends up being a bargain. Just because you're spending a lot of money doesn't mean it's going to translate to wins. I understand I sound hypocritical because I was just talking about Bill Belichick and how I love what they're doing. But what they're doing, they're not going out and getting a top dog. They're not going out and getting a Kenny Golladay. They're not spending a ton. I mean, they're spending a lot of money, but they're not spending a ton of money on one guy. They're getting the guys that, the casual fan would call trash. But in reality, a lot of these guys are going to have a role and they're underrated. Um, Now, looking back at the way, free agency unfolded, maybe they overpaid Aguilar. We will, we'll see. But I do like the Aguilar signing. I love Jonnu Smith and Hunter Henry. That duo is going to be fantastic. And I like Kendrick Bourne a lot. So you added weapons for Cam Newton or whoever's the quarterback there. And then you improved your defense, and it's a defense that was going to be getting back Hightower anyway because of COVID. It's a defense that has the 2 years ago the defensive player of the year in Stephon Gilmore. I mean, it's a really good looking defense. You have guys like Kyle Duggar that have that versatility. They drafted Joshua Uche. You guys, if you've been following me for a while, you know that I love Joshua Uche last year. Chase Winovich, they have all sorts of guys. They added, of course, Matt Judon. So they're a team that just really, they've killed it, in my opinion. And so I guess the reason I was bringing them up again is because I understand if you're like, you're contradicting yourself because you're saying that, you're saying, well, teams are going out and like just because teams go out and get a bunch of players doesn't mean that they're good. But I guess the point I was making is that the Patriots weren't just going after the top guys. Sure, they were going after the top guys at tight end, and they got one of the better pass rushers, but they got a lot of guys in between, the Henry Andersons of the world, that will actually help you win football games that won't get talked about. Those guys I'm talking about. Love those moves. So this is not what this show's about, though. This show, what the main purpose of this live stream, besides the fact it was already pre-scheduled and everything, and I was going to do it regardless, I came in here thinking, you know what? We got to talk about who's available still. And I think that's a thing that's on a lot of people's minds is who is available? Who could you go? Who is your favorite team? And could your favorite team go out and grab a guy that is available? Is there anybody out there that makes sense? Is there a fit? Is there a natural fit? And so we're going to go through each position here. And we're just going to go through and we're going to talk about them. So, the quarterback position, I was not a big fan of Mitch Trubisky going to the Bills. But he's going to go to the Bills on a $2.5 million deal, the same deal that Tim Boyle signed to be the backup in Detroit. I just think that, I would just say this, okay? Mitch Trubisky is better than given credit for, and I understand, he struggled and all of that, but I think people are giving up on him way too quickly, if to the point where, he's having to sign with the Bills as the backup to Josh Allen. I thought that was ridiculous. But you look at the quarterbacks in this class, and right now, this free agency class is pretty dead. There's not really anybody that stands out that intrigues me at all. It's really slim pickings. I think you could argue that Alex Smith is the best quarterback remaining. Him or maybe even Nick Mullins. So that tells you if you need a quarterback, you're looking towards the draft or via trade at this point. Free agency's done for you. Okay, so that's done there. Running back market has been very slow to develop. And we're looking at, Kenyon Drake just signed today with the Raiders. Interesting fit there. Not really sure. They paid him $5.5 million per year. So that'll, we'll see where that goes, but I was a little shocked there. As Jamal Williams got paid by the Lions. Devontae Booker is going to be the backup in, New York again, backing up Saquon Barkley. Carlos Hyde signed with the Jaguars. Mike Boone actually signed with Denver today, so I guess he's taking over the Phillip Lindsay role. Phillip Lindsay also got pushed into the free agency pool. They have rescinded his offer, his restricted tag, and Samaje Perine actually re-signed with Cincy. Mark Ingram went to Houston. Marlon Mack re-signed with Indy. That was a little bit of a surprise. Theo Riddick, he signed with the Raiders, and then you had Lamar Miller going to Washington. Now, there are some guys here that are big names, but, what do we get from them? So, you look and you're like, well, Todd Gurley, I mean, he's a huge name, but he's fallen off because of, the arthritis and everything. He's 27 years old. I could see him going to a team like, say the Steelers and being a part of like more of a running back by committee approach. I could see him going to multiple places. I don't think he can necessarily be a bell cow at this point because he doesn't have the burst anymore, and I do think that's an issue. But a guy like Leonard Fournette, I think, is being a little undervalued. 26 years old, had a whale of a game in the Super Bowl, could have arguably been Super Bowl MVP like I predicted. But this is somebody that, 26 years old, he still has plenty of speed and burst that he has, but he can also run with power, solid vision. He could go back to Tampa, but this guy could be a starter on really any team that needs a running back. Again, 26 years old. I see him being in more of the $7 to $8 million range because the running back market's very down. James White is an interesting one here. Very, very good pass catching back, and he's somebody that played a lot with Tom Brady in New England. I wouldn't be surprised if he ends up going to Tampa Bay to reunite with Tom Brady. Another guy, I mentioned Philip Lindsay earlier, but another guy is Chris Carson. And there was some talk about Chris Carson. I forget where he was supposed to go. Was it Denver or not Oakland, Las Vegas? I don't remember exactly where, but it wasn't the report was false basically. Actually might have been Miami. I don't remember. But Chris Carson, 27 years old. He's had some issues with injuries, but I think this is a back who's, seventh round pick. I just think he's done a great job, in my opinion, really molding himself into a complete back. If he can stay healthy, he's one of the top 10, top 12 running backs in football. I think he's severely underrated, super athletic. Would love to see him get an opportunity. And then James Conner's an interesting one here. 25 years old, Pittsburgh. We'll see what they do with him. I think they have a chance to bring him back if they want to, but there's a good chance that they might want to move on. And then Le'Veon Bell, who, he's now almost 30. Adrian Peterson, who is, 35. Frank Gore, who's 38. They have, there's obviously a lot of backs here in this group. Jerick McKinnon basically kind of laughed at the idea of him re-signing with the 49ers during the offseason. You have Brian Hill, who flashed at moments with Atlanta. And then, of course, Malcolm Brown, the former Ram, actually just signed with, Miami. I think that'll be an interesting spot for him. I'd like to see him get more of an, expanded role, in that backfield. But aside from that, Tevin Coleman, Duke Johnson, a guy that was just added to this pool. Surprisingly, Kansas City is moving on from Damian Williams. I still think he is a very talented back. He's nearing 30, but this is somebody that I think can, continue to find work and play pretty well. There are some other guys, but they've kind of fallen off. You look at LaShawn McCoy and a Chris Thompson. I feel like they've kind of fallen off a little bit in their game, so I don't really think they're going to add too much. That's the running back group. You look at the wide receivers that are still available. It is not huge after the big two. So obviously, we've talked about it, and we mentioned it earlier. With the two guys, Kenny Golladay and Juju Smith-Schuster. Juju Smith-Schuster is 24 years old. I have to address something here because I've been seeing a lot of hate on Juju Smith-Schuster. He's having an unbelievable start to his career. I don't think he's given enough credit, to be honest with you. And I just feel as though it's been the TikToks that have really kind of given him a bad rep. Look, I understand the last 2 years he hasn't hit 1,000 yards. I know people have concern about that. I'm not truly worried about that. If you watch the offense that he was playing in, first off, the offensive coordinator there in Randy Fichtner he's one of the worst he is the worst offensive coordinator I've ever seen in my entire life. You have all that talent, and he wasn't really able to muster up much. But 4 years for Juju Smith-Schuster, 3,726 yards, 26 touchdowns, on 308 receptions. He has nearly a 70% catch rate. This is somebody that, again, he's 24 years old. I know he's weighing an option between, the Steelers and the Jets. We'll see if other teams get into that, but I think he can still bring plenty to the table. Obviously, at 24 years old, he's 6'1", 215. He's got enough, he's filled out enough where I could call him a big bodied receiver. And not in the sense that he's 6'4", but in the sense of he's going to break a tackle or he's going to go up there and pluck the ball out of the air. And he may not be the tallest, but he's going to be strong enough to hang on to that football. If I'm him personally, I'm going back to the Steelers. I'm going to play with Ben Roethlisberger, and that's how I feel about that. I think he should go back to the Steelers and play with Ben Roethlisberger on a 1-year deal. It's his last year, and then next year cash in big because we just saw today with the news that ESPN and NFL reached an agreement on a new TV deal starting in 2022. ESPN Plus is actually going to be able to stream NFL games weekly. I think it's going to be one per week that's dedicated to ESPN Plus. So that's something to keep in mind. They also get access to Super Bowls as well as more playoff games, which is huge. So that's something to keep in mind. But where could Juju go? I don't see him with the Rams. I don't think the Rams would go that route. And what would he be asking? There's a good chance Juju's value, the money isn't there for what Juju deserves or what he commands. And so I think I just had to say that because I just think he's having a really good career and I don't think enough people give him credit. Kenny Golladay is somebody that is highly coveted. He's the big 6'4" receiver that can go up and get the ball, but he's had a hard time staying healthy. And now we've seen the Giants, we've seen the Bears, and we've seen the Bengals. I'm willing to bet that he ends up going to the Giants. I think it's a great fit. First off, Daniel Jones gets a number one receiver. As long as he stays healthy, that's going to be a good receiving group. They also added John Ross a couple days ago. So I like the way that looks there. 27-year-old Kenny Golladay. It's just I also need him to stay healthy. But if you're looking at other receivers and you're tired of those big names, here are some other receivers. Tim Patrick, he's a restricted free agent. It'll be interesting to see if anybody goes that route, especially with Denver having all the receivers they have. T.Y. Hilton, there's a chance that he re-ups in Indianapolis. T.Y. Hilton can still stretch the field. He's 32 years old. We'll see where that goes. Golden Tate's also available. Larry Fitzgerald, to me, it's Arizona or he retires. Deshaun Jackson, I know a lot of people are talking about Deshaun Jackson. What I will say with that is that Deshaun Jackson's never healthy, and I wouldn't spend any money on a guy that's, likely going to play 4 games at the most. Sammy Watkins is another guy, 27 years old. It's pretty crazy. He gets another opportunity at free agency. But he was a bust in Kansas City, although they probably don't win the Super Bowl without him. If you look at the full package of what he was doing there, he probably wasn't worth it. Adam Humphries is a good slot receiver available. Marquise Goodwin just became available, but, he had a whole year off last year with COVID. So that's something to keep in mind. And then, you have Willie Snead, a possession receiver, reliable. You have Cordell Patterson, a kind of gadget guy that can, do it all. Danny Amendola, Alex Erickson, Chris Conley. So, there's some guys there. Antonio Brown is the interesting one for me because this is somebody that, he's in his early 30s. I still feel like he has it. You saw him really finding his stride at the end of last season, became a huge target for Tom Brady and the Super Bowl winning Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I wouldn't throw it out. If Antonio Brown can keep his head on straight, he might be a good option for a team that needs a deep threat. And you guys, you Rams fans out there, if he could, if he could keep his head on straight, he would be a pretty good option for the Rams. He's a guy that's not talked about very often. But aside from that, there's not a ton here that I go nuts about. Even some of the guys that I mentioned, I don't go nuts about. No, I don't see them bringing back Josh Reynolds. Even though his market is going to be very dry, I don't really think he has much of a market. He'll probably sign a 1-year, $2 million deal or something like that. Alan Lazard is also there. So that there are some guys. Khalif Raymond, I've mentioned him as a guy that can take the top off and can also return. But aside from that, that's pretty much it at the receiver position. Tight end is bare bones. I mean, tight end, you're looking at Dan Arnold, and that's about it. There's maybe some other guys, but I'm going to go too crazy in the tight ends. Let's look at the tackles here. So, a lot of people ask me, what their team can do now. Oh, well, we lost our left tackle, we lost our right tackle. If you're a Rams fan or if you're a Steelers fan or if you lost a tackle and you're trying to look in free agency right now, players that are available in free agency, you could look at Russell Okung, who is 33 years old. Eric Fisher, I think, he's the biggest ticket item, mainly because no one expected him to get cut by the Chiefs. He is coming off a season-ending injury, so he might not be ready. He probably won't be ready for the start of the season. I can't imagine he would. But, he would be valuable there. Riley Reef, veteran presence. Alejandro Villanueva, who is the left tackle for Pittsburgh. And then after that, you have Rick Wagner, who played pretty well in the playoffs against the Rams when he had to fill in for Green Bay. After that, though, then you're really like Jason Peters. Like, I'm pretty sure he's going to retire if he hasn't already. After that, it's pretty slim pickings. So that's the thing there is, if you need a tackle at this point, it's trade or go in the draft in draft one. And luckily for you, this class is loaded with offensive tackles. So there's that. Let's see here. So guard. So there are definitely guards available. You have Trey Turner. You have Nick Easton from the Saints. You have Lane Taylor, Austin Blythe, who's a guard / center. Personally, I want to see the Rams bring back Austin Blythe. I think he's underrated. I think he's a guy that you sign for 2 years. You grab a Quinn Miners or somebody along those lines, maybe a Kendrick Green, develop them, then have them take over for Blythe either after this season or after the season after this one. You also have, guys like Forrest Lamp in this crop. You have, Kelechi Osemele, who's available. But aside from that, there's not a ton here. So, that's the thing, is that that is the common theme here. It's starting to be very, very thin at the guard position, at the tackle spot. You can see why the Cardinals went and they traded for Rodney Hudson. You can see why the Seahawks went and they traded for Gabe Jackson. But then you look at center, and here David Andrews is still available. Andrews is a phenomenal center. Him and the Patriots couldn't really agree on a deal, so they took Ted Karras back, who went over to the Dolphins last season. Austin Reeder from Kansas City, he's available. But aside from that, those are your two guys, and I'd say, of course, Austin Blythe at center. Moving on, though, to the defensive line, and there's definitely a lot of talent here. Kawan Short, Jarrell Casey, Carlos Dunlap, Jadeveon Clowney, Justin Houston, Ryan Kerrigan, Malik Jackson was just cut, Tyrone Crawford, Ndamukong Suh, Trent Murphy, Daquan Jones, Everson Griffin. There's a lot. I mean, Alex Okafor, a lot of, Sheldon Rankins is available. So, if you need a defensive lineman, they're there. So that's not, and which is good, because this class doesn't excite me at the defensive line spot. So that's something to keep in mind. But now, looking at linebacker, I had someone ask me earlier, could the Rams potentially go and sign Quan Alexander? And I think that would be intriguing, because Quan Alexander got a lot of money with the 49ers, and I'm sure he realizes by now he hasn't played a whole lot. He's had some issues with, with injuries. I think his market's going to be a little dry, especially with the cap and everything. So, at 26 years old, 27 years old, this is somebody that I think, with the athleticism, if you can get him for cheap, I think he'd be a great addition to the Rams for sure. And then you have, Olivier Vernon, who's still there, Melvin Ingram, Tyre Whitehead, LJ Fort, Christian Jones, Eric Wilson is somebody to keep in mind. I remember the Rams met with Eric Wilson. I don't know if that will have any merit moving forward, but something to keep in mind. Patrick Onwuasor, KJ Wright, Avery Williamson, who played for the Steelers. They got him last year via trade from the Jets. So, I mean, there's not a ton here. You actually saw Jayon Brown go back to the Titans. He was my number one linebacker that was a free agent. So, there's not a ton of options there. And then you look at the corner, and I feel like there's more at corner. You look at corner, there are definitely some guys. I know people are saying the market's dying, but one, you just injected Kyle Fuller in the mix. You have Richard Sherman, you have DJ Hayden, you have Brian Poole, you have Mackenzie Alexander, you have Malcolm Butler, AJ Boye, Casey Hayward, Josh Norman, Buster Screen, Jason McCourty. So there's a lot of guys here. Kawan Williams, Adoree Jackson, Quentin Dunbar still available. Artie Burns, Cameron Sutton got picked up by, he got re-signed by the Steelers, which was a good move. Cravon LeBlanc. So there's a lot of guys. I thought the Troy Hill signing by the Cleveland Browns was great. I really like where they're going with their secondary. Hats off to them because they added 2 Rams that were key on the best defense in football. And now their secondary has Denzel Ward, Greedy Williams, Troy Hill, MJ Stewart, John Johnson III, Grant Delpit, and Ronnie Harrison. I think that's a really good secondary, really tough to throw on. So it'll be interesting to see how they do this year. But I think they're going to be one of the better secondaries in football. Oh, yeah, Reuben Foster. You said that 3 times. The 3 times you said that, that's actually not what attracted me to that. What attracted me to that was actually the emoji you used. It opened up my eye. So I'm just rambling on here, but how is everyone doing? Let's see. We all good? Better be good. Everything should be good. So that's that. I mean, there's, and then safety of Carl Joseph and Anthony Harris, Bradley McDougald, Duron Harmon, Malik Hooker, Keanu Neal. And, that's really it. So yeah, those are all the guys that are available. Now I'm just going to answer your questions. So if you guys have any questions, hit me up on them in the comments and I will read them. Also, again, reminder, please hit the thumbs up button. It helps with the algorithm and it spreads this out to everybody. So it's great when you guys hit that thumbs up button. It really pushes the stream so it gets reached out by a bunch of people. In case you didn't know. If you don't know, now you know. Anyone know what the profile pic is? I can't tell who that is. Is that you? I'd be better when we make a splash. Cap space, you're looking in the single digit number. It's hard to gauge because we still don't know exactly how things are going to be, how things came out. Oh, Jamal Murray. Jake, when do you think the Rams will make another move anytime soon? Why are they waiting for? What are they waiting for? Just curious. So, I mean, hey, I think the Rams are waiting. I've said this before. Remember when they got Nickel Roby-Coleman at the end of free agency and when they got Clay Matthews? I think they're taking 2 things into account. One, they're trying to bargain bin. So, when you don't have a lot of money, you're not going to go and buy an item that's not on sale. If you only have a certain, you only have a certain amount of money and you need to get multiple things, you're going to try to find creative ways to fit that all in your budget, right? Well, that is exactly what the Rams are going to do. And I would imagine it's what Chris Ballard and the Colts are going to do and other teams that are waiting patiently. So I think they're going to wait until next week when the market dies down. I think they're going to pounce and get a couple guys to help their roster, guys that are better than their price tag that they get them for. I think Brian Poole fits into that category. And maybe, they go out and get Marvin Hall, a field stretching wide receiver that can come in on, certain downs and, be a terror over the top. So, that's that. But then the second thing is the Rams also might want to wait because they don't want to affect the compensatory pick formula. Like they don't want to lose a fourth round pick that they're, projected to get from John Johnson, or actually I think they're going to get like four. It's going to be the most compensatory picks they've had, I think, because the limit's four, and I think they'll get John Johnson the fourth. Right now, Ebukam would be a fifth, and then Troy Hill. I want to say Gerald Everett and Troy Hill would then, so they'd get those four. I think that sounds right. Let me look that up. Compensatory formula, because I want to see that. I mean, we'll see. I don't, Okay. So we have for the 2022. Let's see here. It's on over the cap. I don't know if they can. I don't think they can sign Juju, but Patriots got another one. I'm a closet Lions fan. Who should they go after? Well, Rams House. It's funny your name, and then saying that. I the problem is they're running out of cap space. So, I'm looking at probably another receiver. Because I think Jared Goff needs another weapon or two. I think they'll go receiver in the draft, if I'm being honest. They have all five guys, or no, four out of the five guys on the offensive line coming back. I don't hate their offensive line as much as everyone else does. They have Swift and Jamal Williams now in the backfield. You have Hawkinson. They signed Tyrell Williams. They signed Brashad Perriman. They have I totally forgot his name. I don't know why it just escaped me. Quintez Cephas. There we go. They have Quintez Cephas, so they could add another, wide receiver or two. I mean, I think that they'll get a top receiver in the draft, and then maybe grab a guy like I don't know. I think Willie Snead, his reliability, maybe Willie Snead, and then the defensive side of the ball. Maybe they could use an upgrade at linebacker, go out and try and get Quan Alexander. I don't think they have a ton of holes, and they're not a team at the end of the day that's trying to. Yeah, I think they'll have to restructure Goff or Trey Flowers. But I mean, I don't think at the end of the day they're going to like lay down the way a lot of people believe. I don't think that they're as bad as people give them, hate for. Wide receiver Kyle Pitts. Ooh, that's something. Let's see. Jake, do you think Les Snead will sign players to 1-year deals? He could. I mean, I don't know how many he's going to sign. Oh, by the way, right now, the 32 pick limit, the compensatory picks, we have the Rams getting a third rounder next year for Brad Holmes. So they would have a third rounder next year, a fourth rounder for John Johnson, a sixth rounder for Troy Hill, a sixth rounder for Samson Ebukam, and a sixth rounder for Gerald Everett. One of those will be canceled out because you can only get 4 compensatory picks back. And actually, with the formula, you're looking at, and this is, considering the comp formula. So the Rams actually could cancel out one of these picks because I don't think it would hurt their comp formula since you can only have 4. So in case you're wondering, the Bills won't get a compensatory pick for Andre Roberts because they signed Mitch Trubisky, so that cancels that out. The Dolphins don't get any compensatory picks, so they lose Ryan Fitzpatrick, Devon Godchow, Ted Karras, and Kamu Greger-Hill, but they signed Will Fuller, Adam Butler, Jacoby Brissett, and Ethan Carter, so it cancels all of that out. So the Dolphins get none, the Bills get none. The Patriots aren't going to get a compensatory pick because they had Joe Thuney, who they would have gotten a third for, but that cancels out by Matt Judon. Adam Butler cancels out because of Kendrick Bourne, and Terrence Brooks cancels out because of Montravius Adams. So that they're done there. The Jets won't get any. So the entire AFC East will not get compensatory picks because the Jets had Pat Elflein, Terrell Basham, and Brashad Perriman, and they signed Keelan Cole, Carl Lawson, and Justin Hardy, which cancels those out. The Bengals will get one compensatory pick. According to the form, this is projected by overthecap.com. Carl Lawson would be a fourth rounder. They cancel out William Jackson III, AJ Green, Ethan Carter, and John Ross with their moves of Trey Hendrickson, Mike Hilton, Chidobe Awuzie, and Larry Ogunjobi. The Ravens are expected to get 4 compensatory picks, 2 in the 4th, 2 in the 7th. Matt Judon, Yannick Ngakoue, Jihad Ward, and Chris Moore. The Browns are scheduled to get only 1 compensatory pick in the 7th round because the other one's canceled out due to John Johnson, Troy Hill, and Takaris McKinley signings. Vincent Taylor would get them a 7th rounder. Steelers are expected to get 3rd, 5th, 6th, and 7th compensatory picks because they're getting back Bud Dupree. They're getting picks for Bud Dupree, Matt Filer, Mike Hilton, and Tyson Alu. Houston won't get any compensatory picks because they would have gotten a 4th for Will Fuller, and they signed Malik Collins, and they have they've signed so many guys on that team. The Colts 5th and a 6th back because they have Danico Autry and Jacoby Brissett. A team that I think is playing the compensatory game. I don't think that they are going to sign now because they don't want to, upset the formula there. The Jaguars, they were going to get a 6th back for Keelan Cole, but that is canceled out by Jamal Agnew. Is Andrews going back to New England? Are you breaking news on this? That would be nuts. Wow, you are. That is wow. That's monstrous. Are you kidding me? That's huge. The Patriots are loaded, man. I was telling you guys. You give Bill Belichick all that cap space and a fire in the pit of his stomach after watching Tom Brady win a Super Bowl with another team. This is what you get. I'm telling you. Yeah, David Andrews. He was one of the best centers in football. They weren't able to come to an agreement, and so, he entered free agency and was looking, and he's back with New England. That is crazy. So that means their offensive line is Isaiah Wynn, Michael Onwenu, Ted Karras, Shaq Mason, and Trent Brown. You would put what's his face back there at center, Andrews, and there you go. Ted Karras is now your backup. That's huge. That's one of the top offensive lines in football. I'm just saying. But we'll go back to it. That compensatory picks, though, Titans won't get any. Corey Davis would have given them a 4th. Johnny Smith a 4th. Desmond King a 6th. But they signed Bud Dupree, Danico Autry, and Kendall Lamb, which cancels that out. Jacksonville won't get one for Keelan Cole. I mentioned that. So then you look at the NFC East. The Cowboys are expected to get a 4th back for Andy Dalton. Crazy. A 5th for Chidobe Awuzie and a 7th for Joe Thomas. The Cameron Irving one cancels out because they signed Terrell Basham today. The Giants would get a 4th for Dalvin Tomlinson, but they signed Devontae Booker, which cancels that out. I don't really like that cancellation. That seems ridiculous to me, but whatever. The Eagles would get a 5th for Jalen Mills, a 7th for Rudy Ford. They haven't signed anyone, so nothing gets canceled out. Washington would get a 5th for Ronald Darby and a 6th for Kevin Pierre-Louis, but they signed Ryan Fitzpatrick and William Jackson, which cancels that out. The Bears would have gotten a 5th for Roy Robertson Harris and a 7th for Mitchell Trubisky, but they got Andy Dalton and Angelo Blackson, which cancels that out. The Lions are expected to get 2 5th-round picks back, Jared Davis and Marvin Jones. They would have gotten a 6th for Jamal Agnew and a 7th for Matt Prater, but that was canceled out by Jamal Williams signing and Brashad Perriman signing. They also signed Charles Harris today. That's an underrated signing. I'm excited to see what happens there. He's on his 3rd team, but excited to see what happens there in that defense. But the Packers are expected to get a fourth for Corey Linsley, which seems brutal to me, that he's only going to net them a fourth. Jamal Williams a sixth and Montravius Adams a seventh. They haven't signed anyone, so right now those are good. The Vikings, they've only signed guys. They didn't lose anybody, so they wouldn't get any picks, anyway. Alex Mack and Justin McCray are expected to net the Falcons a fifth and a seventh, and they haven't signed anyone, so they wouldn't lose those yet. The Panthers, they lost Curtis Samuel and Chris Menertz, but they actually acquired Pat Elflein and Hassan Reddick, which cancels those out. Trey Hendrickson a fourth and Justin Hardy a seventh. Saints haven't signed anyone, so they're good there. The Bucs didn't lose anybody, and they haven't signed anyone new, so there's no cancellation chart there. The NFC West, now the Cardinals, Patrick Peterson, they'd get a fourth for, but they signed Patrick Peterson, so I think that would cancel out. They have Patrick Peterson on, or no, they didn't sign him. That's right. He ended up going to the Vikings. They were expected to. So he went to the Vikings, so they would get the fourth there. Hassan Reddick, a sixth. They signed AJ Green. That cancels out the Reddick. They would get a sixth for Kenyon Drake. That doesn't get canceled out. And then they would get a seventh for Angelo Blackson, but they signed Matt Prater, so that cancels that out. The Rams have a fourth, a sixth, a sixth, a sixth, a sixth, and a third for Brad Holmes, which can't be canceled out. So the Rams get that third. They don't have to worry about that. They have not signed anybody other than their own Johnny Munt today. They signed Leonard Floyd, so that doesn't cancel anything out. Keep in mind, free agency didn't just it was the legal tampering period, plus he was a player on their team, so he wouldn't cancel out the formula by getting Leonard Floyd back. So John Johnson would net them a fourth, Troy Hill would net them a sixth, Samson Ebukam would net them a sixth, Gerald Everett would net them a sixth, and Morgan Fox would net them a sixth. Now, what I recall, and it doesn't seem this way, it seems like they're rewarding, Over the Cap is rewarding the Rams all those picks, which I find very interesting because I was under the impression that would be six, including the Brad Holmes compensatory pick in the third round next year. That would be six compensatory picks for the Rams in rounds 3, 4, and then 6. They have 4 picks there. So essentially, Over the Cap has them getting all those picks. Over the Cap doesn't have I thought it was the 4 pick rule. Apparently not. Over the Cap has them getting all 6. Now, here's the thing to keep in mind, though. As more guys get signed, you get knocked down the rungs. So think about this. Golladay is going to get signed. So, Gerald Everett will move down a peg. Or let's see, where is... I don't even see Morgan Fox on here. So I'm assuming, okay, Morgan Fox probably isn't on here, so they're probably canceling out. So yeah, it's probably just 4. So the Morgan Fox pick, they just didn't cancel out. But, that they would have 5 if they could. I think the limit's 4. So that's what I'm seeing here. There's already been picks canceled out. Rudy Ford, Chris Moore, Joe Thomas, Vincent Taylor, and Justin McCray, because it'd be over the 32 pick limit. So my point, guys, is as a Kenny Golladay gets signed, Juju Smith-Schuster, Eric Fisher, all those guys, it's pushing everyone else down. So Nick Vigil is the next guy to go. The Chargers know they won't get a 7th for Nick Vigil because Nick Vigil is the last guy in the 32 pick limit. And once Kenny Golladay gets signed, he'll be pushed down. Justin Hardy will be pushed down. So there's a chance that Gerald Everett might not net the Rams anything, but I doubt it. Because he's in the 6th round, so I think the Rams should be good, but we'll see. I mean, it really depends on how many guys get signed and what they get signed for. It's all about value, So if they don't get signed for a lot, then pretty much if you're a Rams fan, or if you're a fan of the Cardinals, or if you're a fan of the Colts, anybody in the 6th round, you're wanting teams to sign players for a lot less money than the the amount that those guys got. So for instance, Gerald Everett got 7 million. You want to see, if you're a Rams fan, you want to see everyone sign them for less than 7 million. That way it won't knock your pick down out of the top 32, and therefore you will actually get your comp pick, and it won't be like canceled out. The 49ers are expected to get a third rounder for Robert Saleh and Martin Mayhew hiring, and then next year. And then Akello Witherspoon, a sixth rounder. They had 2 6 canceled out because of Ebukam and Alex Mack signings. And then lastly, Shaquille Griffin would net the Seahawks a fourth rounder. So right now, Everett and Witherspoon canceled out. Hyde and David Moore, seventh rounders that they would have got. But they have a fourth rounder coming in for Shaq Griffin. Right now, as it stands, Bud Dupree would be the first compensatory pick rewarded because he was the highest paid player. By the Titans paid him. So the Steelers would have the first pick there. And then you would have Robert Saleh's pick for the 49ers. So the 49ers would get a pick for Saleh. That'd be second pick in the third round for a compensatory. And then Brad Holmes would be the third. So the Rams would have a really high pick. It'd be the third pick out of 32 compensatory picks. It'd be the third pick in the third round out of the compensatory bunch. Then you have Baltimore getting the pick for David Culley because he was their wide receivers coach and he got hired by the Texans to be their head coach. So because of that compensatory, they'd get a third. The Saints would get a third for Terry Fontenot, who was a executive for them. He ended up being he ended up going to the Falcons to be the general manager. The Cincinnati Bengals would get a fourth for Carl Lawson. Lawson was originally with the Bengals. He goes to the Jets, so the Bengals are going to get a fourth for him. Lindsley would get a fourth from Green Bay. Matt Judon would give the Ravens a fourth, and then Trey Hendrickson, and then Yannick Ngakoue, and then Shaquille Griffin. And then you'd have John Johnson, who's kind of in the middle of that fourth there. It wasn't a huge contract that was given. It was relatively smaller than I expected. So the Rams end up with kind of a mid fourth round pick, according to this. And then at the start of the sixth, Mike Hilton is the top sixth round pick. But what you'll see here is that Troy Hill and Samson Ebukam have the next two picks after that. So the Rams would have two back-to-back picks in the sixth, according to this. Now, of course, this is a projection. They do their best with the knowledge that they have. We have never known what the formula was. So they've never released the formula. This is all projected. This is all based on their cancellation chart. It's not 100%, accurate. You know what I mean? So take that with a grain of salt. But the Rams would have Troy Hill, Samson Ebukam, then Kenyon Drake was paid a little bit more than Everett. So the Rams miss out on getting 3 back-to-back sixth-round picks. They'll get 2 back-to-back, have the Cardinals pick, and then Gerald Everett if things stay the way they are. So I hope that helped, and I explained that pretty well. I think the Holmes pick doesn't count against the cap. That cap, it's separate from the normal comp picks. Yes, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. The minority coach compensatory picks do not count against the 4-pick cap. So the Rams would miss out on the Morgan Fox pick. But here's the thing. It's based on average per year. So John Johnson, 100% the Rams are going to get a fourth rounder for him. He's 11.3. He's not going to get pushed out of the fourth round. Troy Hill, $6 million. Samson Ebukam, $6 million. Gerald Everett, $6 million. That's what they have average per year. They're pretty good. And then, Fox is 4.1, so you were barely going to get that pick anyway. I think the Rams, they planned ahead. They knew that they were going to lose these guys, but they were going to get a bunch of compensatory picks. Plus, that Brad Holmes pick is really going to help next year since John Johnson couldn't net them a third-round pick. So that's something to keep in mind. You saw something about the Rams, Bills, and Colts first in line to get Zach Ertz. They're in talks with Zach Ertz. What's going on here? I gotta. Can someone link that? I'm not seeing anything here. Ooh. Well, I just saw. So Johnny Hecker is he is tweeting at Cordell Patterson. Looks like he's recruiting Cordell Patterson. And then another thing here. There was never mind, it's CJ Golson. I don't believe CJ Golson's sources, so he said the Cowboys and Patriots had preliminary trade talks surrounding Michael Gallup and Stephon Gilmore. Yeah, okay. Texans are signing Alex Erickson from the Bengals and Patriots wide receiver Dante Moncrief. Texans are just signing everyone. Let's see. Okay, guys, it's NFL rumors. You guys are getting me all like, like wondering if it's this is actually real. The Ertz thing is from NFL rumors. I've literally seen NFL rumors has taken things that I've said on this show live, and I've seen it like not even minutes after I got off the live stream. I've seen on their Twitter like reporting it as such. I don't buy that at all. Now, I'm not going to say the Rams aren't interested in Zach Ertz because we've already heard that they've called. But that's my issue, is that we've already seen that they've called. So here's the thing, is what these sites will do, or not sites, but what these pages will do, is they will take things that people are saying. Like when I constantly bring up Brian Poole, this account, literally right after I was constantly bringing him up, is now like, ooh, the Rams are interested in Brian Poole. Like, come on now, man. Come on. Like, really? Like, I don't know. I just think these sites, you have to be careful because during free agency, you could get absolutely spoofed. There was that one, I got it on the other day on the live stream. There was the Ravens trade. That Ravens trade with the Jaguars isn't happening. There's nothing on DJ Chark getting traded for, what's his face? Orlando Brown. Nothing on that. That was CJ Golson on Twitter. Some guy that he's not even a verified account. So, so you guys make sure you are scouring the interwebs before you say something. So, like, if you say, I'm not like yelling at you or anything like that, but if you see something like Zach Ertz in talks with the Rams and it's coming from NFL rumors, make sure you're getting that from another source. Unless you're breaking news. Like, if you have a source, cool. But there's so much of this where you have an account like that hears things and they take a calculated shot in the dark, and if it sticks, then they look smart. There's a lot of pages doing that, so it's something to keep in mind moving forward. To me, I don't think Zach Ertz makes any sense. And the guys that he mentions, the Bills, obviously they would be a fit. The Rams, they have interest. They called, so they showed interest. And the Colts, oh, congrats, you connected the dots with him and Carson Wentz. You can always find the holes with this. So I don't think the Rams are going to trade for Zach Ertz. I don't think anything that guy has said on that account has been correct. And there was one. What was it? There was one. It might have been the CJ Golson one where he was saying a deal fell through between Kenny Golladay or not Kenny Galladay. Marvin Jones and the Rams at the last second because they couldn't save the cap space. And Rams House and I, we have conversations. Like, he's a friend of mine, and we were talking about that. And it's like, what do you mean they couldn't? They couldn't release cap, or they couldn't, they couldn't get their cap down in time. That's a load of crap. that that doesn't matter. If you guys ever see that, that's a red flag right off the bat. That source cannot be trusted. If they're saying they couldn't get their cap down in time, oh please. You're verbally agreeing. You don't have to get them to sign on the dotted line right then and there. That's not a thing. So those are my thoughts on that. So I'm enjoying free agency. I'd like to see, the Rams get more involved, but I'm enjoying it from an NFL fan perspective. We will see as this thing continues on. Andrews is a 4-year contract, and the Giants also signed Mike Glennon, and the Steelers are bringing back Chris Wormley on a 2-year, $4.5 million deal. I do like that. I like Wormley, good, rotational defensive lineman. Mike Thomas is getting re-upped with the Cincinnati Bengals, former Ram. Tyler Larson is signing a contract with Washington for a year. Blake Bell is going to re-up with the Chiefs, 1-year deal. Carlos Watkins, 1-year deal with the Dallas Cowboys. Jeff Smith signing a contract with the Jets. Dan Feeney is signing a 1-year, $3.5 million contract with New York as well. I like that move. Tyson Brilo is signing with the Titans. Oh, a lot of these moves. If you're ever wondering, like, say, for instance, like Schefter or somebody, like, it just seems quiet. There are probably like deals going down that aren't being tweeted because there's so much going on. And you believe it or not, Spotrac has all this stuff ahead of time. So you could literally just look at Spotrac and they are actually on top of it. They have stuff before everyone. They do a tremendous job. I really like the Kyle Rudolph signing to the Giants. I think it was an underrated move. I think it was somebody, this is somebody that, could be a blocker, and he can obviously catch passes. Was reliable for the Vikings, but when the Vikings had, Adam Thielen and Stephon Diggs, and of course then they add Justin Jefferson last year to replace Diggs, and of course Dalvin Cook. There's all those weapons, and I felt like, Kyle Rudolph actually kind of was hit by that. His production wasn't as high as it could have been. So something to keep in mind. Yeah, so that's that. I think I'm gonna wrap this thing up because I'm gonna try to catch. I don't know if I can sit through a 4-hour movie, but the plan is that I'm gonna try and watch 4 hours of Zack Snyder's Justice League, and then after I watch that, I'm gonna watch Falcon Winter Soldier episode 1 at 3 a.m. It's probably a dumb thing for me to do, but I don't really care. Then we're going to have content, of course, on this channel for all sorts of stuff. I just wanted to let you guys know. No live stream tomorrow. Friday is my off day. Saturday, we're back. AJ's show, 12:30 Eastern time. Be sure to tune in for that. We're going to be talking all about, all the moves and everything. Have some fun with that. And then I'll do a live stream at 4 p.m. or 4:30 p.m. Eastern time. And then Sunday I'm off, and then back to Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, and then Saturday next week. So that's what I'm doing. You might be able to catch me on a gaming stream later, not tonight, but maybe on Friday. We'll see. But tonight I'm focused. I wanted to do this, of course. I want to get this out, and I'm focused on, watching the Justice League movie, and that because that just came out, and watching Falcon Winter Soldier. And I'd love to get videos up on both of those, but I don't know. I don't know if I'll be doing Justice League. We'll see. That's a 4-hour movie. I don't know if I'll be able to process that all and put together a good video. But I did promise you guys, if you guys are interested, the Falcon Winter Soldier, TV show. There's only 6 episodes. Each episode, I'll be doing, kind of my takeaways breakdown. I'll be doing a video. Any Easter eggs I picked up on, and we're gonna post that. I might record that right after the show. That way, it's fresh in my mind, and then I might post it maybe mid Friday night. So look out for that. Again, I appreciate you guys so much. It's really, really, really hard to get off a live stream when you have 78 people watching you, or actually it's 87. We have people on Twitter, and for whatever reason, it doesn't show up on the thing there. So I really appreciate you guys. It's always really hard for me to get off this thing, but if I don't get off, then I'm gonna keep going, and then I'm gonna stray away from my plan. I do want to see the Zack Snyder cut. I'm interested in that. So thank you guys so much. I appreciate you guys. I love you guys. Before I go, this has been sponsored by Manscaped. You can get 20% off and free shipping off your order by going to manscaped.com and typing in either JKB or DTR in the promo code section. So again, I'll be back. Saturday is the next time you'll see me. Unless I go live gaming tomorrow night, we'll see. I'll keep you guys posted. I always do. But I appreciate you guys, and you guys can follow me at JKBoganDTSN. And if you like the show, be sure to subscribe and hit that thumbs up button, please. It helps with the algorithm, and I'll love you forever if you do it. So it's that simple. All right. Thank you guys. You guys take care, and we'll talk soon.